Spin to Win has returned to the new Lloydminster Nissan. See our incredible selection in the Big Blue building and spin the big wheel with your purchase. And at the new Lloydminster Nissan, shopping local isn't just something we say, it's something we do. That's why Spin to Win features fantastic local prizes, including Lambert travel gift cards and more. And right now, the new Lloydminster Nissan is overstocked. See our incredible new lineup and pre-owned inventory ASAP. We're in the Big Blue building on Highway 16 West. The new Lloydminster Nissan. We won't sell you a car, we'll help you buy one.
Local people. Local news and events. Local sports. Local matters. For all things Lloydminster area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Welcome to the Lloydminster Exhibition, new Lloydminster Nissan Exhibition Grill here at the new Lloydminster Nissan. They have great lunches at the grill, and out at the new Lloydminster Nissan, we are overstocked right now with inventory. So if you're looking for a new or pre-owned vehicle, stop in and see us today on Highway 16 West in the Big Blue building, where you will see over 100 new and pre-owned vehicles under the roof. And right now at the new Lloydminster Nissan, Spin to Win is back, and Spin to Win features all local prizes, because shopping local isn't just something we say, it's something we do. So you stop in, you buy a vehicle, you get to spin the wheel for your chance to win awesome prizes that support local businesses, including a $1,000 travel voucher from Lambert Travel here in Lloydminster. I'd like to introduce you to my co-host this morning and the host. They're going to be taking over the show in a bit today as well. Elenee Young and Maria Kokonas are here with us today. We're going to talk about Kindness Wins, but we're also going to talk about Harmonique by Co-op. And Jackie Dunham is a pharmacist here in Lloydminster that has come up with this hormonal treatment. Do we want to call it hormonal treatment?
I think so, yeah.
Things that I know nothing about, menopause, PMS pain, that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to let Elenee and Maria take over the show when it comes to
we know a lot about that stuff, don't we?
Yeah.
We do know that.
It's good to see you guys. Thanks for doing this, by the way. I appreciate it.
Thrilled, yes.
You were very keen to do it.
I was.
You were very, yeah.
It's because I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm floating down that river.
So I really appreciate it. How have you guys been?
We've been great.
Yes.
Yeah, everything's good. How have you been, Kurt?
Very good. Yeah,
Good.
yeah, really good. Yeah, I've enjoyed the snow on the weekend.
It was
Yeah, it
nice.
was
And
pretty.
I saw Maria on the weekend because we were doing some stuff with our love story
That's right.
contest.
Did you
as
see your
well.
picture on the internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I submitted
sure
that.
have. Uh-huh.
I PDF'd it over to
Oh my
Kurt.
God.
Or something
Hell
like
has
that.
frozen over. My mom made a PDF.
I don't think so.
A couple of notes this morning. Spiros is one of the restaurants participating in National Pizza Day for Big Brothers and
That's us.
Big Sisters. Each participating restaurant that you see here will be donating $1 from each pizza sold tomorrow, February 9th, to Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Lloydminster. So it's pizza night on the menu for tomorrow night. Now,
Nice.
you could have pizza for supper tomorrow night before you head off to the Candidates Forum. I won't say it's an all Candidates Forum because I don't think everyone is going to be there. But this is for the open position on Lloydminster City Council. The forum runs from 7 to 9 at the Legacy Centre and will be hosted by For the Kids' Sake. This is the second forum for one vacant spot, which I'll be honest with, it seems a little strange to have two forums when the last election we had one forum and there was like 28 candidates or something like
Yeah,
that.
I
But
agree.
you can never be too sure. So once again, it's 7 to 9 at the Legacy Centre. And if you have questions you'd like to submit, you can do that by submitting those by email to forthekidsake@substack.com.
Is it too late to throw our hat in?
It is too late.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. There's already
There.
been
Missed the deadline again.
there's already been the pre
Oh,
vote.
that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
The early
Yeah.
the early vote. So next Tuesday is the vote.
Yeah.
We'll find out who's going to be serving on City Council. And I thought it might be interesting. We'll try to get that person to come on the show too and find out more about them. Also, tomorrow, sticking with tomorrow's theme, we hope you'll tune in and check out the first of our love story programs. We've already talked about it a bit here. We've teamed up with Richardson's Jewelry and Spiros to bring you 3 love stories in which local couples will appear on Live with Kurt Price, and they will tell us their love story, because every couple has a unique love story.
That's right.
And each couple that appears will receive a $100 Spiros gift card.
Wow.
And you can still nominate yourself, you can nominate your friends, you can nominate family members, anybody you think has a great love story, and you can do that on the Live with Kurt Price Facebook page. And I'm excited to tell you that our first couple will air tomorrow on Live with Kurt Price. Our first love story show is for tomorrow, and it features Shane and Jackie Dunham. So that's tomorrow morning,
Okay.
and that's right here on Live with Kurt
Nice.
Price from Spiros. Actually, we're going to be at Spiros again. That's presented by Spiros and Richardson's Jewelry. Now, so for some political news. And something that keeps coming up in the House of Commons in Ottawa and was voted on again yesterday, and that is a free trade agreement between Canada and Ukraine. And I know it's a big deal. We have a lot of Ukrainians living in our community.
We do.
And once again, the Conservative Party, of which our MP, Rosemary Falk, is a part of. And again, the Conservative Party voted yesterday against this free trade agreement with Ukraine that the Liberal government is proposing. So when Rosemary was here in Lloydminster on her Christmas break, we brought her on the program and we asked her to tell us why they are voting against free trade with Ukraine.
Kurt, did you know we have a free trade agreement already?
With,
Ukraine?
no I didn't.
Initiated by Conservatives?
No I didn't.
Voted to be ratified by Conservatives? Did you know that that free trade agreement doesn't have a carbon tax in it? Did you also know that should this bill or agreement fail and not pass the House of Commons, the agreement that they have that doesn't have a carbon tax would still be in place?
No I didn't.
Yeah, those are things the Liberals aren't telling people, right? We understand that in order to,
So there, I just want to,
Yeah.
I almost want to get this right.
Yeah.
So there, we don't have a free trade agreement right now.
yeah, we do.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Okay.
One without a
but
carbon
if they
tax.
took out the carbon tax, then it would pass.
Sure. I mean, I guess we would support it. I mean, our main
Wouldn't it
reason.
be the same thing? Would it be the same?
Yes.
The same trade agreement
Yes.
that's currently in.
Yes.
The only thing the Liberals are doing is adding a carbon tax
Yes.
into it.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully that explains a couple of things that you hear when Justin Trudeau speaks about why the Conservatives are voting against this free trade agreement. And we're going to stick with politics. Yesterday, NDP MP Charlie Angus presented a bill that would make it essentially illegal in Canada for oil and gas companies to advertise. You may remember a similar bylaw was put forward in Regina about a year ago, and it was voted completely down. So you have to wonder if this bill that would make it illegal for oil companies, gas companies to advertise would even be allowed to advertise such things as naming rights for buildings and things like that, such as the Synovus Hub here in Lloydminster, which we are lucky enough to have Synovus donating $5 million to. Where would we be without that? There's also a company that advertises on our program called pipelineonline.ca. And I talked to Brian last night. He said basically this would shut him down if oil and gas companies weren't allowed to advertise, because that is what he advertises. He advertises mostly jobs and things like that with oil companies. So we're excited here on Live with Kurt Price. Today we're announcing our special Charlie Angus sale. So if you would like to advertise, oil and gas companies would like to advertise, they can contact Live with Kurt Price and you will get special advertising. That's for local oil and gas companies only, because we are a local program. But if you're a local company, you'd like to advertise, you can email livewithkurtprice@gmail.com and you can receive a special discounted rate on your advertising on this program. And you can thank Charlie Angus for that.
Thank you, Charlie
So,
Angus.
Thank you, Charlie Angus. Every time I say his name, though, I think of,
A beef.
well, there's a sketch on SNL that's very popular about Colonel Angus.
I gotta
And
watch it.
I think about that all the time. It was back when Saturday Night Live was good.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Eons
yeah.
ago.
So, yeah, thank you for putting this forward, this ban on oil and gas advertising. It could save you a lot of money advertising on here on Live with Kurt Price through a sponsorship or something like that. Well, it's not just the name, it is Superior Water. Superior Water has 2 locations in Lloydminster, and they're open on Sundays to make filling your big blue jugs a whole lot quicker and a whole lot easier. And if you want great tasting water right from your tap, you can call Superior Water and ask about their under-the-sink reverse osmosis systems. 780-875-6636. I drink Superior Water because I like the taste. I believe it is superior to anyone else's water. Superior Water, open on 57th Avenue, Monday to Friday, 8 to 6, Saturdays and Sundays, 10 to 5. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about Kindness Wins. Brandy Hofer and Kaylee Wells are here, and we'll go over this year's Kindness Wins campaign, which is on now at the Lloydminster District Co-op Marketplace.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
Hi, my name is Ben Harrison. I'm a librarian at Lakeland College and chair of the Downtown Area Redevelopment Committee. My desire is to help Lloydminster to be a prosperous community where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. That is why I am running for City Council in the February 13th by-election. To find out more about what I stand for, please visit benharrisonforcitycouncil.com.
It's more than just taxes at Elenee CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at Elenee CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. Elenee CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
Welcome back. I want to tell you about BioClean Disaster Services. BioClean Disaster Services is a local company that's restoration and cleaning is second to none. For wind, fire, and flood, that can be so disastrous for your property and for your belongings, but also very hard on your family and your family dynamic. That's why at BioClean Disaster Services, their commitment is to you and your family. All products are safe for your family, but it's also about keeping you up to date on what's happening with the restoration project and getting your family back to where you were before the disaster. Committed, certified, reliable, and yes, very local, serving Lloydminster, Wainwright, St. Paul, Bonnyville, and Cold Lake. BioClean Disaster Services, 1-833-246-8326. I'm excited to introduce you to Brandy Hofer, who's been a guest on the program before, and Kaylee Wells, who had no idea when she got here this morning that she was going to be coming on to talk to us about Kindness Wins 2024. It's been a few years for Kindness Wins. How long have you been putting the logo together? Since day one?
No. They've been doing it for 14 years, I believe. Is it 14? Yeah, and I've been doing the design for 4, but was approached 5 years ago because they always do it in advance, like a year. Like, what's the design? What's the launch? What clothing do we have to order? Stuff like that.
Right. Tell us about Kindness Wins, Kaylee. Just what is the program?
So Kindness Wins is a program that we put on at Lloydminster and District Co-op where we get our lovely Brandy Hofer to design some t-shirts and sweatshirts for our grocery stores and our gas bars. They're sold there, and all the donations will be sent to Beyond Border Circle of Change here in Lloydminster. So it goes to a really great organization here, and we are just so excited and happy to be a part of it every year.
Now, you were telling me, too, that you're kind of condensing everything.
Yeah.
You're taking them from the gas stations
Yes.
because you've sold so many already.
Yes.
And just going to centralize them at the...
Yes, you can get your Kindness Wins gear, what's left of it, at the Lloyd Co-op Marketplace.
Should mention Neilburg, too. You can get them in Neilburg.
And the Neilburg Co-op Marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people have them from every year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody should make a quilt.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be awesome?
Heather.
Well, I don't know if she can quilt.
I can't quilt either. How much money have you raised so far in the... Do you know the answer?
I don't have an exact
I think it's like $43,000, something like that.
That's a lot of
But
money.
like including this year, but yeah, not including this year. But they've done well, and more than 10% or almost 10% of our population wears the design now, like goes and gets it every year. That's crazy.
That is great. What did you think when they approached you about designing? Were you pretty excited?
Yeah, I talked about that story this year. I had very low self-worth and self-esteem. So when Christine called me at that point in my life, and I was very in the throes of like motherhood and then making a painting and selling a painting and thinking that's like all that I could be as an artist and a creative is I just make these paintings and people buy them, and it wasn't very sustainable. And it was Christine, so it was Christine at the time who was working with Lloydminster District Co-op, and I remember I was drawing at the table with my kids in my studio, and she's like, do you want to design the shirts? But not only that, do you want to be the advocate and the, I guess you could say, the influencer for this campaign for our community? I was like, I don't really do that. Like, I don't really do a lot of digital design either. I do like a lot of sketching and by hand. And she's like, well, I think you could. Let's see what, like, I want, because she had commissioned some pieces. She's like, I want that painterly feel, that fun feel that you have in your artwork. I think it would translate well for this campaign, and not only that, but what you stand for as a person and kindness. And I said, okay, I guess. And she kind of saw something in me that I didn't see in myself yet. And we spoke about that. I spit everywhere just now. Spoke about that at the Inspiring Women's Conference. Is when you support other people in your community, you're doing something that they didn't know they could do. You're believing in someone, you're empowering them, and look what that moment did. Christine believing and seeing something in me and how I can impact community, and then it led to like having a podcast and founding the Art Academy, doing this year's campaign, working together, doing murals out in the community. She empowered me to go beyond myself, being an author. Yeah, thank you, I forgot one. And so it was a very pivotal moment in my career and in my life that this campaign brought on the power and impact of creativity.
So tell us about this year's design. You had some help with it.
A little bit of help from like 32 children.
How do you focus that in your one design? How do you go, okay?
That was the challenge. I was like, they were like, let's do it with the Art Academy. I was like, yeah. I was like, how do we do this? So I had them all come up with concepts, because what we learn in Art Academy is like all the steps in how you create something. So taking it from the concept to the design, and then translating a physical design into a digital design and mocking it up, and then the screen printing process and all of that. So we had them all come up with their own concepts, and then just chatting about it with them. And like one of the students was like, let's do a really big 2024. I was like, let's do a really big 2024. That's cool. And then we had them come up with the concept of why. Like, why do we stand for anti-bullying, being inclusive, and how do we work that into the feeling of the design in the sweater. And so we had all of them do a line. So one line that stands alone is just alone, right? It's not impacting anything, but when you combine and work together, you can create something much bigger than yourself. So that's really what it's about, is standing together, collaboration, and working together, and how you can impact other people. And so we did a lot of projects too surrounding what kindness meant, and working within the school and our community for this project. So it was beyond just what we were doing, but yeah, it was lots of fun.
So can you take us through the design?
Yeah, like everything that's on it. We have obviously Brandy Hofer Studios logo and the LPSD and Co-op, and they all drew a line, and then we came up with 4 concepts and presented them to Co-op.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then they were like, we like this one the best. So we continued with the thumbprint shape, the rainbow, and what that, oh look, I have a coffee stain or something.
The coffee stains.
These coffee
Those are
stains,
for, your busy life.
Yeah, included Yeah, that's my signature. Yeah, and so we had them just kind of work digitally. We have a big iPad we draw on and sketch on, so it was a process. And then of course LPSD Blue, which was a huge obvious hit this year because they're almost gone.
They're almost all gone. I think we only have a couple left.
I might
so
go pick
get them now.
I might actually go snag those just for.
Yeah, I saw some at the Co-op Gas Bar on the west end of town last night, and I was telling Kaylee, and she was like, "Well, I think we're moving those to."
Are they moved? Are they officially moved?
I don't think they're officially moved, but we are planning on moving them all to one location between Neilburg and Boyd. So they'll be at the marketplaces. So you don't have to go running around town to find them. They'll be there.
I did that for size for Heather.
I know. She told me. She emailed me finally. She's like, he found one.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna give you my extra. Yeah. Give her my extra.
There's people that collect them each year too. Like I love that it's always a thumbprint.
Yeah.
Like it's always like a steady design. And I also love the blue. Is there a significant reason for the blue?
It was just to represent that LPSD was a part of it.
Oh,
to do
okay,
blue.
yeah.
And then we thought it would just be a really popular color to do a feature blue because everyone has gray or black, right? And
or pink now.
Yeah, of course, like pink. That's what it's for, anti-bullying, kindness
blue
wins,
was a hit. Like a hit.
Yeah.
It went fast.
Which I kind of had an intuition, like a gut feeling that would be really popular. And usually my gut feelings are right.
So you've already designed next year's then?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
She said the other day, we have to have a conversation about that. I was like, we do, because I have like 65 students being like, so I have an idea for next year. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if LPSD is doing it, so I don't want to like give the kids hope and then take it like, we don't know yet.
Campaign runs until you're sold out?
Probably, yeah.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, there's no restock.
Right.
Nope, we won't be restocking. So, like I said, get them now because they are going very, very quick.
Yeah, and anti-bullying day is last Wednesday of the month, right?
Yeah, the 28th.
It's always last Wednesday of February.
I think it's a record. That's a record sellout.
It was
sellout.
so quick.
Yeah.
That's all. Am I forgetting to ask anything?
No. No. One year we did a feature yellow, and I saw Michael Welligan, Mikey Dubs. Everyone knows Mikey Dubs. He was in there. He was like, "I got 7." I was like, "What are you doing?"
Of the yellow?
Yeah, like neon greeny yellow.
Yeah, I remember that. That was very popular too. Yeah.
But we didn't have a lot of them. But this one was cool. So we'll keep people on their toes with like new things even I don't know about, so we can't even share it.
Well, I think it's nice to have different colors, and it gives you different options too.
Yeah.
Yep. Stay tuned for next year's special color.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us on.
We're gonna stick with the Lloydminster District Co-op. We've got Elenee and Maria coming in right now, and they're going to talk to Jackie Dunham about Harmonique from the Co-op Pharmacy in just a moment.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with a Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
Well, there is a new place to live here in Lloydminster for adults 55 and over called Wellings of Lloydminster. It's for people who are still independent and don't want to have to worry about maintenance, property taxes, fixing appliances, shoveling, all that good stuff. Wellings is a place where you don't have to worry about stairs. But again, you're independent and you're living more with more time to travel and no snow to worry about coming home to. And let me tell you this, if you have a pet, you can have a pet. If you want to have a garage to putz around in, we've got a garage for you. This could be exactly what you've been looking for, and it's a bit surprising that it's taken this long to bring this kind of a community to Lloydminster. But let me just say, call Darlene and go look at a beautiful villa. They're not far from the new Petro-Canada 7-Eleven on the Alberta side. Her number is 780-872-8537. How'd I do?
I'm calling.
Yeah, me too.
You made me want to buy one, actually. I'm gonna be on my phone.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Today we're so excited. We have Jackie Dunham here with us. Look at how beautiful she is. Give us a little wave. We're so excited to have her. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about Harmonique, which is, well, you know what? Why don't you tell us a little bit about Harmonique? Makes no sense to hear it from me.
Okay. Harmonique is an individualized treatment program primarily for women where I look at imbalances in hormones, deficiencies, lifestyle, diet, and put together a treatment plan for women to optimize their health.
That sounds amazing. I would love to know how, now this sounds like such a big thing. And it doesn't sound like it came across kind of it doesn't sound like you just made this up out of nowhere. It sounds like you might have gone through some stuff to get to where you are. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
I always say that I think I have been what you call hormonally challenged.
Okay.
So, since I was younger. And so, for instance, when I first started menstruating, etc., I went through a lot of years of amenorrhea, which is just when you don't have a period, when you probably should. And so it was to do a lot with whether it was stresses, not ovulating. They actually thought for a while I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, but did not. So, and eventually, so it really led me to want to study. And I love that kind of thing. And then, of course, after getting into pharmacy and understanding the body, etc., a bit more, it just really piqued my interest because I wanted to feel better. So, and realized how hormones can affect your psychology, not only how you feel physically, but, everything, how you communicate, etc. So.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So, having been down the road of being quote unquote hormonally challenged, can you describe for us the demographic of women that you are helping kind of on a regular basis?
Well, I think, all women, I guess because we don't talk about this a lot, I'd like to just spread the message that it is okay to talk about. We are a cycling creature.
Amen.
And
she's the amen corner over there.
There you go.
Absolutely.
We are a cycling creature, and the more you can understand your body, the more you can help yourself. So for me, I want to give education, help people understand themselves so that they can, even just learn to tweak little things and have the tools in their toolbox that they need to help themselves.
Jackie, I was talking to Elenee on the way here, and she was coming up with the questions and things like that.
Oh no, we did this a long time ago.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago.
Come on,
Sorry.
we didn't do this.
But you and I grew up together. In fact, Jackie and I went to school together.
Graduated together.
Yes, and grads of 1988.
Yeah.
But we came from maybe an era of, and I don't know what your mom was like, but I know my mom didn't go through menopause, quote unquote.
No, oh no, yeah. No, my mom did. So
yeah. Well,
but
I'm
she
here
was
to
kinda-
tell
yeah,
you, my
yeah,
mom did too, and I
right.
told
Oh,
Elenee
no.
on the way here, there were some dark days in the Kokonas house because my mom was going through menopause, but I didn't go through menopause.
And Rob's mom will say the same. Oh no, I didn't go through that. And even her daughters will say, oh no, you did.
You
You know?
did.
But I think that's the thing is the education. When you don't realize even that those things are related, etc., that it makes a big difference, and that there are things you can do. There are things that can, make you feel better,
Yes.
so that you can feel more optimal, functional, better, and you don't have to live with sleepless nights.
And we were just talking about this a couple minutes ago, and you made a very interesting point. You said there's feeling better mentally and feeling better physically, and Harmonique kind of helps women through the physical and the mental.
Right, exactly. Well, I think, as I think we're becoming more aware of all the time that, your mental is affected by your physical and vice versa.
Right.
So if we can take care of the whole picture, that's why I always feel I need to interview people, get an idea of their medical history, their background, what have they been through, what are their symptoms, how do they eat, what's their daily routine look like, and we put it all together. Some people you're starting right from square one saying, we need to change just these few things. It's not, you never want to throw too much at someone.
No, of course.
At first, but I believe in starting slow, starting with like low doses of things, starting slowly, and working to progression to where we want to get to.
And I keep going back because I was saying this morning I was up at 4:30. I'm clearly in the throes of
She
of
absolutely
menopause.
is.
And
In the
and I'm
throes of
clearly
menopause.
also going to tell you that I am using a hormonal therapy or treatment, and I've got creams that I swear to our Lord and Savior that if I went through customs and they tried to take my creams away from me, I'd be in prison. I'd be all right as long as
I want my creams. I need my creams.
I don't care what goes
No,
on.
yeah.
Those creams are coming
They're
with
coming
me.
with me.
But I just want to say, like, when we go into the start of it, we usually go, not the start of menopause, but when we go into hormonal therapy, whatever treatment plan that you're going through, us women, we usually go because a friend has told us, you should try. Have you tried? Have you thought of? And this is all, it's all by hearsay for us.
Right.
We don't really know because I don't
And
think
no
we're
one's
clear
really
enough
talked
minded
to
That's
you
right.
about it. Like, it's not something that, say, your doctor's going to say, okay, right about now you're going to be going through this.
Right.
I do think there are some doctors, especially in like functional medicine, et cetera, that do that, but I think it's something that we do learn more from talking to your friend,
Yes.
from talking to, someone who's gone through it, and so you bounce things off each other. But I think what my intention is to help people navigate through that so they understand what's going on, because if you have an understanding, then you're able to deal with things and you know how to tweak what you're doing, and you know that even like as much as it's amazing how much your diet can affect it, etc. And just your routines. How do you start your morning? There's so many different factors that can affect you hormonally and just help you do better. You are going to go through menopause.
Absolutely.
So even though your mom thinks you didn't, you are going to go through
I know
it.
she
but-
right.
Yeah,
I guess,
exactly.
and my other question is it sort of like we go to Jackie on, January 27th, 2020, we saw you, and then it's not a one and done thing
No,
either.
and I think because just the nature of it, like I said, is that it takes me, first of all, that first interview, what I usually do, I'll kind of go through this then, is I get people to fill out an intake form, so that before I ever see them. So that actually shows me, okay, what is their age? Are they menstruating? Where are they at with everything? Have they had any surgical procedures, ablations, all of that? Kind of gives me an idea of what's happened with them in the past. And so once I collect all that information, then I want to have the initial consult, because they also do tell me on the intake, here's my symptoms, here's my concerns. But then once I see them and have that conversation, I can really get to know the person and what's going on with them. And so then I decide whether I need labs. I usually do. I like to have a starting point to know what's going on with our stress hormones, so cortisol, thyroid, all the hormones like DHEA, progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, all of those play a part. It's kind of where the name Harmonique came in, because when I met with the marketing team at Co-op, I said, you know, hormones to me are like a symphony. And I know that's been said before, but they really are, because when they're all playing their part and they're all at optimal levels, it sounds great in a symphony, right? So that's kind of like hormones. You can have hormone harmony. So that's what we are trying to.
What a lovely name.
Yeah. So anyway, that's thanks to the marketing team. But yeah. So then after I see them, then we send for labs. Once I get the labs back, I look at everything: symptoms, the person's medical history, the labs where they're at, and go, okay, what's the best treatment plan for this person? So we put together a proposed treatment plan. I always get a hold of physicians. Their physicians let them know what I'm doing, because I think it should be teamwork. And then it's got to be patient-centered, I think, is the biggest thing, is like the patient has to be involved. Are you comfortable with this? Some people are so scared of hormones because, you know, there was studies in the past that really freaked people out and everyone stopped their hormones. Whereas now I think we know so much more. There's so many more studies that have proven that it can be preventative to use hormones as we age.
Well, and I just want to add something too. You know, as a woman that's sort of gone through and is going through, when we're starting down this road, we've gained weight.
Yeah.
You know, things have changed in our bodies,
and yet you haven't been doing anything differently.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's
and
frustrating.
So then we hear about hormones, and it's like, well, honestly, I don't want to get any more breasts on me than I've already gotten in the last 8 months, and I've got this belly that came out of nowhere, and I do Pilates 6 times a week, and I'm at
feel
the
like
gym.
I'm doing all the things.
Yeah, I'm doing everything, and you want me to take hormones now, and then we're scared of it. And you know, and there's another thing I want to add, like our bodies are changing so much, and it's like the women that we remember from our younger years that are wearing the sleeveless blouses and the sandals when it's, you know, they're barefooted wearing sandals at, you know, February 22nd, they're wearing sandals, and you say to yourself, oh my God, why is she wearing a sleeveless shirt? And I'm never gonna do that. Well, let me tell you, last year,
you might.
I wore my Birks for most of the winter. And that's me, because at any given time, I'm running hot. And Elenee will know it, because I'm like, Elenee, come here, touch my neck, touch my neck, touch my neck.
I know. We have this saying where I'm like, if a mom has a hot flash in the forest and no one's around, does anyone hear it? Hear about it?
She always teases me
Well,
about
she
it.
always has to let us know when she's
I
having a
have
hot
to
flash.
let people know that I'm having a hot flash.
I think it's just to even comfort yourself, like, okay, I'm not going crazy if I say it out loud, you know, it just makes you feel a little better.
But you know, my point is that, like, hormones are kind of scary. And when we're starting to put, and like you said, you know, years ago people were afraid of hormones and they stopped taking them, and then now they're telling us women, you gotta start taking hormones, and we're like, oh my God,
so
I can't.
here's what happened too, is so when I first graduated from pharmacy, came out and started practicing, all women of our age, like I mean that's probably a generalization, but most women were taking oral conjugated equine estrogens, Premarin, and progesterone, because they knew that it would you know, help prevent osteoporosis, even prevention of cardiovascular disease. They knew that there was benefits to not letting your hormones decline and plummet so quickly. Then there was, in about early 2000s, there was a study called the Women's Health Initiative, and you might have heard it. If you look it up, you will definitely see it. But they did that study, and it ended up showing that there was a slight increase in breast cancer and a slight increase in cardiovascular disease. Although the study was not done correctly. It was done on an older population of women, so average age, I believe it was, don't quote me for sure, but like 62 to 65. That's not when we would want to be starting hormone therapy. We want to start it where you and I are
Okay.
now. Like, so we want to start it when you're getting those symptoms, ideally, and then you can travel through and keep taking your hormones, but you don't want to kind of miss that window of opportunity because you do get higher risk if you start hormones later. So anyway, that study was done improperly, like on wrong population age groups, and so since then, so many people have been trying to, there's so many studies since just showing that that isn't true. So that we can benefit a lot from hormones, etc., especially bioidentical hormones. That study was done with progestins, which is not bioidentical, so it doesn't quite fit in your progesterone receptor the way our exact molecule of our progesterone does. So that's one thing. It was done with oral estrogen. I personally would not choose to use or treat with oral progesterone because that's where the cardiovascular issues can happen, like clotting, etc., because it's metabolized differently when it goes through the liver. So if you do it topically, transdermally, then you don't have those issues. So
Okay, what are DHEAs? Is that progesterone?
no, it's
No,
not.
okay.
DHEA is not, and that's safe and fine to
Yeah.
take orally. I know you said you're taking it. That's totally fine. So that is actually a precursor for testosterone. And women always think, oh, I don't want anything to do with testosterone. Well, we actually have more testosterone
Guess what?
than we do estrogen.
That's right,
It's
I
just
read that.
But men have, however many times more than women do, but we need our testosterone because it's that hormone of confidence, of motivation, of feeling clarity. Yeah.
Well,
so
and how
maybe I
it
need
was
to go get some
explained to
testosterone.
me, and in the very, because I'm pictury, so I needed someone to explain to me, which I did to you, that what's dancing on the speaker?
Well, a lot of times what you'll hear people explain is like your estrogen. If you think of the girl that's social and at the party, and and you have lots of that when you're young, right?
Yeah.
But so that's more of your estrogen type, I guess, characteristics. Progesterone would be like, okay, calm down. You're just they work in balance with one another. Although when you become estrogen dominant, then you do get other symptoms like irritability, bloating, tiredness, insomnia, all those things. So all of it is about balance. What's the ratio? So that's another thing that a lot of the testing that I do will show you. Here's your estrogen level, here's your progesterone. We want our ratio to be like 100 to 500 times more progesterone than estrogen. So it doesn't have to be exact, but where do you feel your best? So that's what we're
I
looking
love that we are talking about feeling. How are you feeling? Because, and ladies, let me tell you, and men too, if you're listening to this, I think it's really important that men are also understanding past the point of, and honestly, this should never come out of your mouth, did you take your medicine today? Because that might get you punched. Because if you're at that point, men, where your ladies are, a little, and you say, babe, did you take your medicine today? I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Babe might throat punch
buddy.
you. But, I think it's really important to recognize that you don't have to get to the end stage of menopause before you decide that you need to do something for yourself. It's about how you feel mentally and how you feel physically. And for the longest time, I was worried about my mental state because I was like, my body is changing so much. I mean, I'm 5 foot nothing and I'm gaining weight by the minute. I look at that cup of coffee with 2 granules of sugar in it and I've now gained 3 pounds. And so now that's starting to affect your mental state.
For sure.
And you sort of plummet into this abyss of I'm a nut job right now and you're asking me questions about how I'm feeling and I'm thinking, look, lady, how do you think I'm feeling? Right. And we're not even really able to sit down and have that conversation because we're so off the wall. And I think
I don't understand where it's coming from.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you and I know to be true, and you, is that we are all going to go through menopause.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through it. All the women go through it. And I think it's really important to be honest with yourself and preventative. To maybe in your 40s, start understanding that your body is changing.
Not 40.
35?
35.
Well, yeah. So what we, and I mean, there's no exact number,
Right.
but so we say early menopause would be before 45, and late menopause would be after 54. Is typically.
And Jackie, you can test for perimenopause,
So,
right?
So you know what? One thing about labs is they're always a snapshot in time. So they're just showing me that moment when you tested. So because perimenopause, which I told you is, starts usually around age 35, your ovaries aren't doing as good a job. Not that they're not doing as good a job. They're spitting out different amounts of estrogen at different times, ovulating sometimes, not ovulating other times. So I was saying to Elenee before, it's kind of like when you're at the end of a tube of toothpaste. I heard one doctor say it, and I thought it was just such a good analogy, is that sometimes when you squeeze the tube of toothpaste, you're getting, you have enough to really brush your teeth. It's great. Lots comes out. The next time it might be a sputter. And then the next time you're getting a bit, that's perimenopause. It's like the stock market phase where some things are up, some things are down, some months you're down, you're in and out of that. And so we want to help you become more stable. How can we balance that out? So teaching a patient a little bit more about their body, a bit more about what's happening, just helps them to, it's very hard to make it perfect, but we can make it tolerable and make it manageable. And I think that's the biggest thing. So learning that early enough so that, you can basically, you can navigate your way through it.
And be your own advocate too.
Yes, exactly.
That's so important.
Understanding it, because you are part of the healing process, no matter what. Like you've got to do the work. You've got to, if there's like, for instance, as we age, we are less tolerant of caffeine. We're less tolerant of alcohol. We, so all those things affect our hormones. So paying attention to that is huge. And if you can start doing that at a younger age, and realizing, okay, what I used to be able to drink a huge, whatever double. Well, that's got sugar, that's got caffeine. It's not that we want to enjoy those lovely things in life, but what can we tolerate without having, these symptoms that we don't want to deal with?
I love that.
You also mentioned a saliva test to me, which I thought was just a genius.
So that's a lab that I usually use. Like I usually order both, like serum labs. So serum is when you'd go to Dynalife and you get your hormones tested, etc. But I also use saliva tests and saliva and blood spot. And the reason I do that is because that gives me an idea of what your free hormone levels are. So in your serum, that's your venous blood. So your hormones can be attached to different proteins, like sex hormone binding globulin. So you have those hormones, but are they free to do their job? If they're attached to a protein, they can't get to the receptor, they can't do their job. So if they're free in the saliva, only free hormones can show up, so they're not attached to that. And same with capillary, so that's blood spots. So I would get you to do these saliva over 4 different points in the day, and then your capillary blood spot, it's not venous, it's capillary, so only free hormones can be in that. So that's just, you just kind of dab on different spots on this little sterile packaging thing and send those 2 things off, and then the lab analyzes those along with the symptoms that you report to them and gives me a really good report. So, and with that lab, I love them because they have doctors that I phone and say, this is the treatment plan that I'm seeing, this is kind of the history and background, and so we discuss those things together and decide on, yes, I like what you've proposed to me, you know, and the doctors sometimes will go, well, you know what, in this situation, what I've tried is this. So the one thing about it is it's, like I said before, it's not cookie cutter, it's really individualized. So I just try to come up with the best treatment plan for that person.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And one thing I found really cool about that was just a couple of minutes ago I said to you, how long do I need to stay on my treatment plan? When am I done?
Well, the thing is, like, so if you think about women, after, when we call it postmenopause, well, how far postmenopause? So can that be 8 or 10 years? Like, women start to really stabilize and become more like men. Like, I don't mean physically, but I mean just become more stable. Men are very easy to treat, by the way, just because they don't have all those ups and downs. Their testosterone declines like this. They obviously, a lot of them have stresses and stuff that affect different things. So they, but they're much easier than women.
I was actually going to ask if you do treat men or.
I do, yeah. I primarily, my passion and stuff is women, just because I'm a woman, and it is more complicated. Although, you know what, I've ended up having quite a few women say, "Can you help my husband?" And it's much easier because they're simple. They usually, like, even if you go on a diet with your husband, they lose right away, right?
Of course,
it's everything is a bit simpler. Just because it just don't have the complication of the ups and downs, etc., and the cycling nature of women. So it does make it easier.
Cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to shift gears
for
really
sure.
quick. I heard a study, and basically studies are showing that girls are getting their first period a lot earlier in life than they were say 50 years ago. I think this study originally was based on 1970 and 2020. I'd have to look it up and maybe I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But that is something that we're seeing. I know some friends of mine are in the education system, and they're dealing with girls and hormones a lot earlier than maybe they were dealing with it in 7th grade or 6th grade. So I'd love to know your take on maybe why that might be happening.
Well, what I would think is our environment is a lot different. We use a lot more chemicals, so the xenoestrogens, so those are things like, and I don't know a lot about these chemicals. I do know, like, so xenoestrogens, they would attach to your estrogen receptor the same as your estrogen does, but block it. So have a lot of hormonal impact. So we have a lot more of things like that in the environment that would affect young people than we did then. Also, I think, as I was saying before, is like even screen time, etc., that is disruptive of the circadian rhythm. So, and how like young kids, like, spend your time outside, get that sun, do the things that all of us should be doing more. Because circadian rhythm is huge effect on hormones. So making sure they don't have an iPad or something in front of them right at night. That blue light is going to affect it, etc. So just as life has changed, I can see why that would be one thing that's happening is just younger. Yeah.
Are you seeing that? Because how long have you been in pharmacy? Like, what is that?
So I graduated from pharmacy in 1996.
Okay.
So
almost 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah. So long enough to see maybe some trends and patterns
for sure.
in women, and I guess overall.
Well, like I said, like that, yeah, for sure. And so what I like to explain PMS as is, so premenstrual syndrome, is it's a mini menopause. So it's like your hormones are plummeting right before you end up menstruating.
Okay.
So if you have really troublesome PMS, you're probably going to have that same thing with menopause.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, but we can balance that, right? We can do things to. Can we make it perfect? Probably not, but can we make you feel better?
Right.
More than likely. So.
Are you seeing any trends? Like, I would say trends in the sense of differences between then and now regarding women who are menopausing. Are they menopausing earlier, or is it different?
No, I guess I haven't really noticed that. I do think in general, I wouldn't say it's earlier. They say the average in North America is around 51. I'm 52, about to turn 53 in a few days, actually. And you are, thank you. And you're 53 already. Yeah. So, you know, but what I will notice is like there's some people who at 42 they're coming to me and saying like I'm really having all these issues, whereas you know I'm kind of going through that a decade later, you know, so it really is different for each person.
Right, it's more of an individual basis.
Yeah, I do think so.
Okay. And you really briefly had touched on stress and just kind of how that affects, because cortisol is a hormone. It's a hormone, right?
It's a hormone.
Okay, good.
It's a stress hormone
It's
from
a
your
stress
adrenal
hormone.
glands.
I love that.
Yeah.
What are some practical ways that women specifically can, I don't want to say combat stress, because I feel like when you add combat into your life, like we just don't need that. But things that we can do to help with the stress, because we live in a high stress society.
Yeah, it's much different than it was years ago, right? So, so number one, I do want to say that cortisol, it is known as the stress hormone, but so sometimes we demonize that and we think we don't want any of it. We wouldn't be living if we didn't have cortisol. We want cortisol, especially as a waking response. It's what wakes us up. We just want it at the right times of the day.
Right. Not 3 a.m.
Yeah, not at 3 a.m. because then you'll be awake too early. But so that's why I use that saliva test that I was telling you about, because that gives me what's called a diurnal pattern. So I want to see, they'll show me on a graph when I get it back, I want to see that your cortisol has peaked when you wake up. So I get you to do your saliva within half hour of waking, and then or sometime before noon, sometime before supper, and at bedtime. So in the morning, I want to see it wake you up. And then I want it to basically drift off and down until you go to bed. So sometimes you'll see people that they don't quite have the waking response that they should, but then their cortisol goes way up at night.
Probably because they own a restaurant.
It could be that, yeah. No, and it really could be, you know. So what is very helpful to use in those cases, because that just tells me that, okay, your adrenal gland is somewhere to the point of being either fatigued, you're dealing with too much stress, so it's not dumping cortisol at the right times. Right. So we use different supplements, etc., adaptogens specifically. Sometimes I use an adrenal glandular. If someone's been adrenal glands are fatigued beyond a certain point, they sometimes need some stimulation of adrenal glandular. So that would be, so long as you're not vegan, is like a porcine glandular, a bovine glandular, that kind of thing, with the adaptogens in it. Because those adaptogens, what they essentially do is they remind the adrenal gland that I need cortisol, but I need it at the right time. So, and they work very effectively for people. They don't work within a day, but they work over time for sure.
I feel like all the good things don't work overnight.
That's right. Yeah, you need time. And it's just like, so knowing that, so how can that person change maybe what they're doing, change, you know, it's hard to, if you own a restaurant, you still got to put the work in, etc. But how can you balance those things out to the best that you can, and still run your business or be a mom?
Well, it's
or
being
whatever
an advocate for your body so that you can be successful in your day-to-day.
And you can have, you know, enough to give.
Yeah, because when you start going down that rabbit hole of I don't feel good, I don't look good, I don't feel good, I don't sleep good, I don't, and then it's like, forget it.
Like, what am I even doing?
Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah. Right.
So and that's what happens with menopause.
Yeah, you're saying that it is treated with supplements and things that can be internal and holistic medicine, but also it can be environmental.
Yes, absolutely. So it's never just one thing, I would say. It's a combination of, you know, how do you live your life? What's your profession, your lifestyle, your diet, for sure, all those things. Because as we know, like glucose and how our body is responding to glucose, so your insulin. So are you eating too much sugar? I always take a look at someone's hemoglobin A1C. I don't know if you've heard of that term. So that's just that's a a lab test that we do, and basically it gives me the, it's called glycosylated hemoglobin, but it gives me your blood sugar over an average of 3 months, your average blood sugar over 3 months. So we test that to see, like, are people trending towards becoming pre-diabetic? And the closer you get to that 6%, the closer you are to becoming that. And we notice, like, especially as we age and with menopause, we don't tolerate carbohydrates as well.
Right.
I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh,
but
100%.
when you're younger, you could eat and eat and eat, and then all of a sudden carbohydrates just want to be stored as fat. You feel bloated or puffy or whatever it is. And that's just because our insulin isn't working quite as well. So if we can increase our protein, lower carbohydrates to an amount that's good for you. What's good for me is going to be different than it is for you. So it's teaching people how to kind of manage that.
It's very specialized.
It is, and so it's not the same for everyone, but like I was saying, so that your glucose, your insulin is also a hormone, so that can really interfere with how your sex hormones work. So I really take that all into account. That's why diet is so important.
So you've probably helped people discover other health concerns.
Oh, for sure.
Along the journey.
And you know what? And that's why I think it's really important to work with their physician as well. Like if someone, for instance, I just had someone who came in and he had not done his blood work from his physician, hadn't, taken care of all these things. He had a physical, but no blood work. And I said, you know what, we can't go forward. First of all, I'm not helping you to put hormones in an unhealthy body. We got to make sure. So getting that physician involved, getting him to do all the things he needs to do first is really important.
Because it is patient-led, like you mentioned. Like
Absolutely.
If you're not motivated to do, although maybe the motivation is just lacking from the testosterone.
This is true.
It
is a cycle. And like a lot of times, I heard one doctor say, and I thought it was really quite profound, is that it's really hard for people to be motivated and have the energy to do the things they need to do to feel better. So sometimes you have to start with those bioidentical hormones, whatever, get them feeling a little bit better so they have the motivation and the tools to get it done.
Engage. It's to get to that
because they're
engaging
so
switch.
low at some points that, you know what, I got nothing.
This is what I feel like. I don't know what to do. You figure it out.
You're right. Yeah. So it's kind of really just starting them on that right path too.
Jackie, is it, the time? What does the time reference point look like from start? I don't want to say start to finish.
Of the program.
Yeah.
So, of course, everything's evolving as we go. I've started so far just kind of by word of mouth and learning that some people typically I get you started on your treatment plan. I follow you for at least 6 months.
Good.
Because, like I said before, I like to start with low doses and go slowly with it because I don't want to over-treat. I just want to, and I don't want to necessarily just treat those lab numbers. I want to treat the person for how they feel. If they're feeling better, great. I don't care if their lab values aren't quite optimal, as long as they're not out of range high.
That's right.
We just want to go with, treating the patient, not the labs. So, that's sort of where my focus is.
I love that.
Yeah.
One last question for you, Jackie. Thank you so much for all your insight.
Absolutely.
I feel like I've learned so much today.
Yeah, I love talking about
it's
it.
so good. And you can tell it's so passionate. You're so passionate about it. So we've definitely heard from my mom that she is going through menopause.
There's
nothing wrong with that.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm so too. I appreciate that, Maria.
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
But for those of you who are watching that are maybe a little younger, so I just turned 30 last week, which is really not that old in the grand scheme of things. I also am, what did you say you were, hormonally challenged? I have been hormonally challenged, so I've kind of been dealing with this a little bit on a very small scale. But what would you say is a good age? And I know this is very person-to-person basis, but what's a good time for someone who knows that menopause is inevitable, it's coming, to sort of get a hold of it a little quicker, get a grasp
Yeah.
on it?
You know what? I think when you're when you're educated, and some people are intuitive enough to realize something doesn't feel right. That's the age, whatever that age is. Go to the doctor, ask the questions. Sometimes doctors will be like, no, you're fine until you're 40, whatever, we're not even going to bother doing those. But be your own advocate and say, but I think something is going on here. You do have a right to say that, to investigate further. And I think a lot more doctors are becoming aware that it is okay to do that, and to get a baseline, to kind of know where you're at. And quite often, like if you were to say, talk to your doctor or talk to someone like myself, that we can figure out from your symptoms kind of what's going on. And maybe it's just certain suggestions that you need. Maybe you do need to see where your baseline numbers are, but again, like I said, that's a snapshot in time, so it doesn't always give us everything that we need to know, but it certainly gives us some information. So
another thing I want to add too is what I found in my experience was, us moms and parents, we look after our family for our whole life. We've nurtured them, and we've sort of neglected ourselves. And I think it's really important to just understand, even if it just makes you sit down and take a look at the fact that, I don't have, Elenee and Zoe are looking after themselves now. Your children are looking after themselves now, whether they're at university or where they are. They're sort of on their own and navigating their own life, and all of a sudden you're left with your own thoughts, and you think to yourself like, oh, hey, I'm noticing that my body's changing, and it is time to look after myself.
It's sort of that natural process.
It is,
really?
and I think it's really important as a woman to be able to say, it's time for me to start listening to my body and to start being an advocate for myself, because I remember when my kids were little and ear infections and this infection and that, I was the biggest advocate for my kids. Right. I mean, and I felt that, and it was like I would have gone to
sort of a distraction for yourself.
That's
too,
right.
Yeah,
I would have gone to the end of the earth to make sure that these guys were okay. When my ex-husband, then became an ex-husband, but while we were still married, and he was going through the throes of alcoholism and all these medical challenges. Once he did pass away, and then I remember going back to my Dr. Governor, and he said, Maria, when was the last time you were even in for a physical? And I said, I've been here. Oh, no, I've been
here
there
with all your kids.
And he says, you've been here for absolutely everybody else, but I mean, the last time I saw you was 4 years ago. And I thought, what? I don't believe that, but let me look at that. You're right.
Right.
So I think we women need to start looking at ourselves as, and I don't want to say it like this, but we are the most important person in the room at that moment.
Well,
we
when you
have
take
to
care of
become
yourself,
like that.
You have more to give to
That's
everyone
right.
else too.
So
like
true.
I really do believe, and I have trouble doing this, so it's easy for me to say and to tell other people what they should do, but it shouldn't be the guilty pleasure of looking after yourself. You look after yourself because I find, especially as a health professional, you're looking after lots of other people, whether it's your family, your friends, your patients. You've got to be well so that you can do that job.
It's important, and you have to be your own advocate for it too. So I'm really excited to have learned so much today about what you can offer, and I mean, I think I love knowing that I'm on this path and I don't have to hop off the path.
Well, and what I love too about having Elenee here is like these different generations of people. Like I love to be able to just pass on knowledge and wisdom and say, start these things younger. Do the things like we know that resistance training, we know our muscles, basically sarcopenia, so loss of muscle mass as you get older, for instance, is inevitable. It's going to happen. So resistance training, start that now. Your muscle is your biggest organ in your body. Let's take care of it. If we can keep the cells in the muscle working properly, it affects all the hormones and so all those things too. So I guess just passing on that knowledge to you so that when people start and they they ingrain those different routines, you know, into their lifestyle, that everything becomes easier as they age.
does,
So,
yeah.
that's so good.
And I do think like your generations are so much wiser because there's so much information out there, etc.
Well,
and you're not as
wiser-
afraid to talk
That's
about
true.
it, right? So,
Yeah.
so you
I
get
think that's the
information.
biggest thing is you're not afraid to talk about it.
We,
And
nobody talked about this. when
We
were
are not
young.
afraid to
Yeah.
talk about it,
No.
but our mums will claim
Right.
they didn't go through
Yeah.
it. So
Right. Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
tell you,
You did. We saw it.
It is
Yeah.
really nice to see
Yeah.
just the openness to talk about things like that are just that used to be maybe kind of taboo.
Right,
And when your
exactly.
moms were menopausing or it was your husband's mom that also did menopause,
Yeah.
it was a lot of like, you know, maybe she did feel like she was in the dumps, but she probably like
You just
maybe,
stiff upper lip and you don't.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
because maybe women before her were like checked into an asylum.
Right.
Like,
right.
You know what
no,
I mean?
That's
So they're
right.
like, I don't
This
want.
is true.
And
Yeah.
you know
But-
another thing too, like today there's so many products on the shelf.
Yeah.
You know,
It's hard to choose,
Provitalize,
right?
all
Right.
these
Yeah.
things that are out there, and it's like, well, if I sign in to Provitalize and it comes as a monthly shipment, and then now I'm bound to this, and do I really know that this is something that's going to work
There's
for
so
my
many
body?
things that can help, and I think that's the confusing thing. There's so much information
Right.
that I think it's helpful to have someone help you navigate through that, to go, okay, let's pare it down, let's make it
Yes.
simple,
Yeah. For
let's
you.
start here. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And just have someone to help you objectively, because sometimes it just gets so confusing that
Yeah.
you don't know where to start, so you
Yeah.
don't start. So it's just, I think Harmonique is that kind of path forward, just to
Awesome.
help you get through.
Well,
love
thank
that.
you
Yeah.
so
Yes.
much, Jackie. That was so
Yeah,
great.
It was
I
awesome
I
to
told
talk
you,
with you guys.
you told us everything you wanted
I
to tell
think
us.
so.
Did you have
Yeah,
anything
I
else?
can kind of jabber.
We
a
can
lot.
ramble, but
Is there what's the process to go and see you? Do we go into the Co-op
typically,
Pharmacy?
yeah, some people come into the Co-op Pharmacy and ask to book an appointment. Although the procedure we're doing right now, because like I said, I like to gather information about the person to know that are they a candidate for this,
Okay.
first of all. Like, you know, if someone's actually going through breast cancer treatment, etc. Like, okay, you know, I mean, I definitely will have that discussion with them, but I like to see their medical intake form so that I don't spend the whole consultation going through a form with them.
Right.
That's a waste of their time.
It is.
Etc. So what I do is get them to email me. I send them an intake form. They fill it out. Once I have that returned to me, then we book the consultation, and then decide what way we're going to progress.
And
from there.
what's the best email to send that to? Do you want to share that here?
Harmonique at Lloydminstercoop.com.
Okay. And then last but not least, only because I love to have this information before I go into it, what does it cost for a consultation with you? Is this
It's $199 for the initial consult. If we go forward with treatment, and so that includes your lab testing, like the saliva tests, etc., that I send off to ZRT laboratories. And then after that, once I develop the treatment plan and I follow you for 6 months, it's $100 a month
Nice.
for the 6 months.
okay?
Just for me to keep in contact,
Yeah.
adjust doses, etc. So
That's awesome.
And a lot of times, the prescriptions, depending on your insurance plan,
covered.
are covered,
Yes.
etc. So
Yeah.
that's really good. Even though there's some are compounded, just ideally for you,
Yeah.
I can still phone your insurance and make sure they're covered for you, etc.
Awesome.
Most of the time, we can do that. So.
Cool.
yeah.
Well, you've
Thank
heard it
you,
here
Jackie.
first.
Yeah.
Get in touch
Yeah.
with Jackie. It sounds like if you are just needing a little something with your body, if your body's telling you
Yeah.
things and you're not sure, get in touch with you or with Jackie. It doesn't matter the age, it sounds like as well, which I think is really cool. And it sounds like you also don't need to be a woman. So she's worked with everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for having us on the show, Kurt.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you. It was fun. It was
we're
good.
so excited. Tune in to the next show.